this is important because it shows you that Republican politicians, your general purpose Republican politicians know the truth. But because of their, what is the word that I want to use? Cognizant dissonant. They refuse to see the answer that is very simple. This congressman, this Republican congressman from Arizona gets it. But the solution, this poor guy doesn't seem to get. And he's in this particular video, it's not going to have anything about solutions. So let me show you the video and then we'll go and move it to the other side.
I want you and everybody else to see something. This came from a Republican's mouth, okay? Give me a second.
Last night I could barely sleep because I had read report after report after report, and the math was devastating. If you add it all up, by 2035, you have over 74 trillion in debt. That 40,000 federal employees leaving is a single day of borrowing. Yet I watched someone on television last night saying, well, look, we're going to make a huge dent in the U.S. deficit with these 40,000 taking early retirement. It's 1 day of borrowing. Okay, so someone yesterday said, okay, let's get rid of the federal subsidy on tax-exempt bonds for stadiums. Okay, great. We calculate that's about 6 or 7 seconds of borrowing for a year. Really popular ones. Department of Education salaries. So if you get rid of the Department of Education salaries, and I think this is all of them, is about $2.75 billion for 9 hours of borrowing. Had this the other day. Let's get rid of healthcare for those who are here illegally. This is the emergency services for undocumented. So we calculate that to be about $2.1 billion a year. This is the emergency healthcare on undocumented. Okay, got you another 9 hours. So let's actually go to something a little bigger. Let's get rid of the foreign aid. Okay, foreign aid's gone. You got yourself a week. How many times, those of us on the right, I've been in a debate with another Republican, if we just didn't have foreign aid, we'd be fine. Okay, now you've got to deal with the reality of what that does to our military, our footprint in the world, protecting the reserve currency. Why are we the reserve currency? Because we have a footprint. We protect the trade routes, but look, you should know that from your history. But you just wiped it out. You just covered a week of borrowing. The famous pie chart. Everything a member of Congress votes on is borrowed money. Every dime of defense is borrowed money. Every dime of non-defense discretionary is borrowed money. I think last fiscal year, $400 billion of earned benefits. But let's actually now have the other thing where I'm going to start to really make a couple of my brothers and sisters annoyed around here. United States, according to the Census Bureau from last month, will have more deaths than births in 8 years. Not a single country in the world, and this is not just the United States, it's basically all the industrialized countries, and much of the world is way ahead of us in this almost dystopian collapse of there being young people. The other stupidity we engage in this country is we educate people in our fine universities, and we send them home to compete with us. Wall Street Today actually has an article on drug discovery and drug research and how fast China is basically competing with us now and new biologics and those things. And the basic premise is that we educated the very people that are competing with us because we sent them home because we're idiots. And yet I will get folks who will now, right now, pounding out texts saying, but I don't want foreigners in there. Do you want us to be able to pay your Medicare bills? Turns out, as an economist, you can't hit the number without a talent-based, STEM-based immigration system. You just can't. Because here's your problem. We built the models. So we're going to extend expensing for research and development. So we're doing things better, faster, cheaper. What happens when the very companies that are doing that, the research labs that are doing it, continue to show up in my office and say, we can't get enough people. We're being squeezed. We're going to have to do part of the research on the other side of the world. Have we lost our minds? Oh, but David, you can't tell that. That will upset someone. Because, and this chart I know is almost impossible to read. Its punchline is very simple. Unless we have this productivity spike, we're going to get poorer.
Unless we have that conversation, we're going to get poor. But the problem with what he's talking about, and this is what I want to get, folks. He understands the problem. It's math. You know, I always use that as an excuse. I always say, look, guys, the reason billionaires have no right to exist, it's math. They didn't do it. They didn't create that. It's math. And the same thing with the deficit. Here, this guy is talking about this huge deficit. And what does he want to do? He wants to support Donald Trump, who is about to give a huge tax cut, even as we have a huge deficit. So he knows the problem, but in his dystopian mind, again, he doesn't want to change the tax side of the equation. And he claims that he wants people to get good health care. And what does he want to do over 30 years? Make sure that the increase in tax receipts are greater over time than the increase in Medicare, which makes no in social programs, which makes no sense. Why doesn't it make any sense? You don't put your healthcare based on taxes. You put your taxes based on healthcare. You put your taxes based on the services the society needs to provide. But the other thing is here. They claim they want to do something about the budget. Yet they don't understand that, wait, why is Medicare exploding? Because we don't have Medicare for all. Why do we spend so much on Medicaid? Because we don't have Medicare for all. Why do we spend because we are taking away 20-30% of the money, if not more, right off the top in healthcare. That's why healthcare is so big. If we want to solve the healthcare problem, we could solve the healthcare problem tomorrow. The problem is all the parasites that have been taking our monies all these year after year after year, they will have to stop taking that money. They can no longer get that money because it's free money for them. So here we go. This guy knows it. I was so proud for this clip that the brother put on the screen, right? But I was so disappointed when I went to see the entire video and read the transcript of the video. Because in effect, he knows the problem, but he's also saying, but our Democratic friends want to say, just raise taxes. But that'll have an effect on the GDP. Says who? Let me tell you guys the biggest lie out there. The biggest lie is that tax cuts create more economic activity than spending. It's the biggest lie out there, and we know it. Every economist knows that when you start drawing those curves, it is impossible that tax cuts can generate more income, more economic activity than spending. And why is that the case? That is the case because when an economic activity is determined by how often that dollar circulates. When you give a tax cut to people who already own a lot of money, they don't immediately throw that into the economy. They may invest, not necessarily here in the United States. They may just throw a whole lot of that money in the Cayman Islands. And as we deficit spend to give them tax cuts, they loan us back their monies. So we pay them twice, thrice actually. We give them a tax cut, that's extra money in their pockets. They sell us back the tax cut. It's the form of bonds, debt. So now they get a free stream of money from the best government in the world. The federal government pays them every month to use the money that we gave them back. We borrowed it back from them and then pay them to borrow it. And on the corporate side, when that causes those stock prices to go up. And what is that called again? Capital gains. And when those prices go up, guess what? Capital gains are not taxed at the same level of standard income. And if you keep it as capital gains, or rather, if you keep it as stocks and just loan your stocks to an insurance company, and that insurance company give that stock to an insurance company, and then that insurance company loans you money, you know how much you're responsible in taxes? Zero. Our MAGA folks get screwed so badly by a system they do not understand. And by supporting these guys that support these policies, and by the way, our neoliberal Democrats do the same. I'm not taking them off the hook at all. All these financial instruments are there to support the wealthy, and they're supported by neoliberal in both parties as well as by MAGA in groves. So they enjoy being screwed. It is such an amazing thing. So that Republican guy, that Republican congressman, his name is David Schweikert. David Schweikert, Republican of Arizona. I have the link to the YouTube that you should all read. It's about 35 minutes long, the YouTube version of what I just played. And I think it's instructive because he knows that Democrats are going to come back and say, let's just tax a little bit more and let's go ahead and socialize our delivery of medicine, meaning that we pay the bill, one pair. And that saves us all billions upon billions. I mean, it's been the calculations have been run over and over again. So this isn't conjecture. We understand what it's going to be all about, but you have to be willing to do it. And this congressman, while he understands the problem perfectly, he fails to talk about a solution.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.